Welcome to episode 83 of the Nero Show. In today's episode,
the latest generation of SRAM RED has been released. We chat through all the components.
INEOS are taking Chris's advice and running classified hubs. What do we think?
Chris has also got his hands on the new Giant TCR, so we do a bit of a first ride impressions of that.
And someone had a mechanical somewhere in Australia. We talk about it. All right, let's get into it. Look at us, Jesse Coyle. We are hitting an embargo date.
Yes.
That is the significance of what we are doing today. Because as we talk right now, this is not in existence. This is not a thing.
Oh.
It doesn't happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everyone's YouTube feeds, their social media DMs are going to be blasted with the launch of that thing. The RED AXS 12-speed SRAM road Groupset.
Yep.
Jesse Coyle, you are so excited over there. Just let's what's your overview, your thoughts?
It's something new. So let's set the scene here. I've had access to the press material, which I've been reading through to get just through the internet. What's this new Groupset like? What's it saying it's doing? And so I've had a read through and we'll chat through it. Chris, you've had your hands on it and you've ridden it. So this is going to be an interesting thing where I can give the JC opinion based on a PDF. And then if you're feeling anything in particular that you notice, I mean, you haven't had it for extensive testing, but you've done a couple of rides on it. So if there's anything that stands up from your side, having ridden it, let me know. Mate, call me, say I'm right, tell me I'm off with the fairies. And I think we'll go through, I think it's easiest if we just go part by part.
Yeah, good call.
For the new Groupset and see what it is. Now I want to start off on this PR document they've got. They've got this first page that gives one paragraph, what's new. Why should you buy the new SRAM RED ETAP axis? Let's go through. Light brake feel, comfortable ergonomics. So that's going to be from those new shifters. Smoother front shifting. They've acknowledged that was an issue. Fully wireless connectivity. We've known SRAM's already been ahead of that from the technological side of things, connectivity, the app, that sort of thing. So still staying ahead in that, they are saying. Expanded gearing choices to fit every rider. RED is packed with features like accurate and reliable power measurement, so interesting that they are hitting home on that, which is interesting. New shift points, more brake adjustability. One sentence already got me. It's just, what are you saying? While still shaving grams of every component to bring you the lightest electronic Groupset ever. That is a lie. This is not the lightest electronic Groupset ever. The Shimano Giro Ace, 9150, 9100, 9250, all the latest rim brake electronic Groupsets, even if you add on a couple of 100 grams for a power meter, is lighter than this Groupset. So that sentence is not correct.
I wonder even if their own electronic, their original one,
The old 11-speed ETAP. That would have been lighter.
That was a dog.
But it would have been lighter than this.
Yes.
So this may well be the lightest electronic disc brake Groupset ever, but that's not what you've said. So straight off the bat, they've lied. That took all of 5 seconds for me to realize that was just not true. So I don't know who's written that. I don't know. Why wouldn't you just put disc brake?
Disc brake. There's an easy solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's move on. Let's actually go through all the parts then.
Can I just say quickly then, just in terms of like the features that they've hit on in that opening line, like the way I read that and even my little bit of experience writing this, it's almost as though SRAM just went, they were in all the bunches, they were in all the forums of all the SRAM chat that you would see in anything. And what's the chat always going to be? Well, it's going to be, I don't like the hoods. They're a bit fucking, they're a bit chunky. I don't like the way they sit. All right, we'll make those a little bit smoother. The shifting's just a bit clunky. That front derailleur, it's a dog. I hate shifting. Okay, we'll clear that up. The brakes, the pistons, they don't seem to work quite as well as Shimano. It doesn't sort of go as well. Okay, we'll just tidy that up. It's like they just went and minutely adjusted all the little gripes that was in all the forums, across all the YouTube videos in the SRAM versus Shimano chat, and they just tidied all those up. Didn't make any dramatic changes, but overall, you kind of would say that's answering the critics.
Yep.
top line. Is my sort of top line look at this.
I can see that. Yep, tied it up.
Yep.
Essentially. So let's go through. So first page, you've got the shift brake system. So obviously the clearest thing, as you can probably see, if the camera is not going to get up
I
there.
will use something called B-roll.
Oh,
What
we
happens
got
is
some
while you're
magic
talking,
of B-roll.
it will
Okay, so
show
have
that.
a look at
Yeah.
these shifters. I mean, they're tiny. They're way smaller than the other ones. So, I mean, obviously.
And
improvement.
narrower.
Yeah.
Much narrower. That's the biggest takeaway when you put your hands over them is just how thin they are.
Narrow thing there. Okay, a couple of things that stand out to me too. There's an extra button. So it's not just the paddles. They've got, what do they called it here? You're saying?
This is the best. They're called the bonus button.
The bonus button.
So
button.
I love this. This is like, okay, what does Shimano call their extra button? The D-fly. What the fuck does that mean? D-fly. What's this extra button on the hood? What's your bonus button?
Bonus
bing,
button.
bing, bing, bing.
It's literally what it is.
It's like it should make a sound when you hit it.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's nice to have an extra button. Doesn't really take away from anything. It's just an extra button to have, so that's cool. Now, there's a couple of things here.
I do think that's a thing, personally. I mean, that was, I think, when we had this chat, when we were doing that slop, SRAM versus Shimano chat back in the day, that was always the thing that I would go, I wish I had that little button on top. They got the button on top.
Nice. One thing that stood out to me, and it's something that I noticed on my gravel bike that has disc brakes, is the pad clearance. Now, they said here the actual disc brake caliber is not only stiffer, it's lighter, and it's got more pad clearance. So in theory, this should make it less likely that the pads rub. And also if it's raining, you know when it's wet and then the grit gets in. So hopefully this is going to clear that, having more distance between the pads and the rotor. That is a good thing. So that's that stood out to me. That was an improvement.
And that's something I have no opinion on as yet, having not ridden in the rain. And yeah, they worked out of the box.
Okay.
So that was fine.
Look, if there's someone's from SRAM watching this, they're probably going to go, oh, you missed all these features. Look, I'm just pointing at the things that I think are interesting. The rest of it, so it's a smaller lever with more adjustment. There's more pad clearance and there's an extra button. Anything else from the shift brake system that you thought was interesting?
From the shift brake system, I do think the pulley wheels are worth noting. That in terms of aesthetically, that's certainly a big change on that rear derailleur. Do you want?
We're going to get to the.
Oh, sorry.
Well, we're going to get to the. Whoa! We're
Okay.
still at the top end of the bike here.
Yes.
But in terms of the brakes,
In terms of that, if I can just quickly say about the hoods, if I'm going to compare that feel to anything, it's and this is something we may hit on a bit later, very similar to the SRAM Force, the updated SRAM Force levers. Blindfolded, if you just put your hands on the hoods, you would go, oh yeah, SRAM Force 2022. Yeah, that's them. That would be your initial thought.
Okay. Front derailleur. I honestly don't have anything to really add here other than they say they've improved the shift to make them faster and more reliable.
Looks kind of the same. This is, I know a lot of people have sort of said that this is where this update will be made or broken. Like, is there actually an improvement to this? Because it's the number one gripe for the SRAM sucks is the front derailleur. And it isn't as good as Dura-Ace. That front derailleur shift on Dura-Ace is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yep.
It is. Is this vastly better than the old one? My experience is the internal shift is dramatically better.
Mm-hmm.
The external shift is still a bit SRAMmy.
Okay.
Would be how I would leave it at this point. This is coming from someone who hasn't done much front derailleur shifting in a while.
But on the one by.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're going to get onto the one by thing soon. So, and because a lot of it is to do with this rear derailleur. So the rear derailleur here, I think, is pretty interesting because not necessarily that if there's a massive update, but the wording around here is quite important because there's one of the things I said that I'm seeing with this release and SRAM overall is they do appear to have a bit of a vision where they're going with things. So let me pull out some things with this rear derailleur. So the range of the cassettes can go from a 10 to a 28 tooth, the smallest, and then it'll fit a 10 to 36 tooth. That's a pretty, like a 36 for a road rear derailleur.
I will say the old one
coverage.
fitted 1036 as well.
Yeah, the 36 is a pretty easy rear gear for for riding on the road. Larger, that little rear derailleur pulley is a little bigger, so should be a little less friction through there. And this bit here, this is the big one. I'm not sure if they had this in the last one. They say orbit fluid damper to keep everything in place over the rough stuff. One derailleur ready for 1x or 2x on or off road.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I don't know if they had this in the last one, but they just didn't promote it. But they're clearly saying here, whether you're doing road, 1x, 2x, gravel, 1x, 2x, this derailleur should suit. And I think that's a pretty big change. That they're kind of, in terms of this whole capability thing, that's the selling point of this rear derailleur, is that you want to run it 1x and ride it over dirt. They're saying this is going to be capable of it. And that's the thing that you noticed when you had the 1x with the, not even the 1x with the Shimano, when you had the Shimano on the gravel bike and you just didn't feel it was dealing with the rough surface enough because that freaking chain slaps all over the place. So that sort of, it's not a clutch, but what this fluid damper thing, according to SRAM, who are also big in the off-road, this is going to be capable of that and should tolerate that.
It's really interesting how they're all starting to cross each other's turf a bit. You know, you could potentially argue that there's not a lot of difference. Well, I mean, the only difference between this and the Explorer derailleur at the moment is the Explorer derailleur can go up to, the 44 tooth. And because it has that, what are they using it? Orbit fluid dampener thing in there. So you've got that. I mean, obviously, what's going to happen with Explorer in the next couple of months? That's another thing. But yeah, you're only really being limited by the gear ratio when it comes to riding this off road.
Yes,
and it must be that chain slap thing, because that's when I had the Di2 Road group set on the gravel bike, and it was like slapping about all over the place. I wonder whether this sort of goes across that.
Definitely, and it feeds in to this next part of this document here, because then they go into power meters, and this is where they've separated out. So they go, this next page is RED AXS power meter, a whole page to the new power meter on the chain set. The following page is RED AXS power meter. So they are really pushing this 1x thing to dedicate an entire page to the same power meter, but in a 1x and a 2x configuration. When you combine that with the wording they're putting around this rear derailleur thing, I just get the feeling they are really seeing 1x as arguably where they're going to dedicate this much time to it.
It just seems to be, it looks very similar. They're just saying it's 29 grams lighter than the one that's on my S5. But you're right, like
the crane arm is the power meter. Yeah, so the power meter is a bit lighter. The Quark power meters. Do they call it Quark anymore? They don't, do they? It's just a
no. I think they just call it inbuilt SRAM. Yeah,
the SRAM power meter. Okay, so Quark, SRAM, whatever is a bit. The crank arm's a bit lighter, and then they're dedicating an entire page to the chain rings, more chain ring sizes as well. So they've got 50-37, 48-35, and 46-33 chain ring combinations. Now the weird thing is,
and the Aero one's 48 is only 48 and 50. Seemingly, they're not doing a 52, which I thought was interesting.
I'm not quite understanding is they mentioned in the front derailleur documents that it can take up to a 56-43 chain ring combination. They've promoted that in the front derailleur, compatible up to a 56-43. But when you go to the crankset section, the biggest that they're promoting is a 50-37. So I don't know if this is a case of wide range acceptability of the front derailleur, but we're not going to make the anyone besides the pros able to get the bigger chain rings.
I'm calling that something about the availability, because I know that there are 52, 5240s, I think, being built up as we speak with this on it that are going to be available to customers. That's weird, actually, when I look at that as part of the press document. Because I was actually going to get into that what I've seen from some of the early builds of people running this it's almost bucked the trend of going to larger chain rings. So they were speccing it with the correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's a 5240 and then a 1036 at the back, which is actually
which would make sense. If you've got a 36 cassette, you don't need a 48, whatever the hell that thing is, 4835.
That's a super achievable gear ratio for a lot of people. So that was something that I noted from some of the pre-builds that I saw.
Well, I'm just going off what's in here.
Enough.
It says there's 3 chainring combos available that goes up. The biggest is a 50. So I'm not sure what's going on there. That's just what I'm seeing. If that is true, and that it's kind of, you and I, and everyone listening gets a 50, and then there's a secret club of sponsored riders that get, the actual bigger chain rings, that would be a shame. Because that's quite. And I'm in a situation now on a Shimano built bike. The chainring availability is fucking atrocious. So I've had to go aftermarket chainrings because I can't find anything bigger than a 54. So yes, hopefully chainring availability. If you're paying this, and it comes back to the price, if you're paying this much for a group set, you want to be able to get exactly what you want.
Yep.
Not I'm paying top dollar and then I'm limited in choice. Was there anything in this sort of crankset space that you've noticed?
Not on the crankset, no. All I was going to say was personally, I think I got it wrong. I actually got it to choose this group set that I was going to try, and I went the 50, 37, 10, 33. Whereas in hindsight, I definitely think I should have gone the 52, 40 with the 10, 36, because apart from that front chainring being good, that 1036, I'm actually trying to pull it up. Maybe you can find it while I'm talking. That 1036 cassette is, if you actually pick it up, it doesn't feel possible how light it is, because it's one piece of metal. It's actually quite confronting how light it is. So it would, as far as I'm concerned, if money is no object, that's a no-brainer. You put that cassette on your bike, full stop.
Next 2 slides, we've got chains and rotors. Not much change. They're both lighter, both more durable with different coatings, etc. I didn't have much to add on these 2. What do you think, Chris?
The chain it looks aesthetically a bit different, I would suggest. Like, even you looking at that now, you can kind of tell there's a few more holes in it.
Punched a few holes in it, yeah.
That sort of bits and pieces. Look, I kind of find a giggle at it that they can say that it's lighter, stronger, faster, and it's more durable, given that they've taken some weight out of it. I suppose the proof will be in the pudding of that, how it sort of goes on. But yeah, rotors, anything rotor-wise, I think we're probably out of our depth.
It's a different aluminium carrier.
Yeah.
So it's all it's lighter.
So the reason I don't really have an opinion on that either. But the chain stuff, I did want to mention this because SRAM do claim that everything is backwards compatible. Everything is backwards compatible. So, you could slap an old chain on there and it will run. And that goes as far as every component in the whole suite, which I kind of think is cool. So if you are someone who wants to just buy one component at a time over the next 5 years, you could potentially do that.
Well, can I put you on the spot? Okay. You're on your Cervelo S5 on the old version. You had to pick one component from this press release.
Great question.
The backwards compatibility update on your old group set. What are you swapping?
Woods.
Okay. Yep.
Not even up for debate.
Okay.
That's the headline.
Cool.
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question.
Fair enough.
That's this week's reel, I reckon.
Okay.
That one there. But yeah, you could just piece it together bit by bit, because that's what you used to do. You used to buy all the buy components when they came on sale and stuff. But with this, you could do that and actually put it on your bike, and it would work, which is kind of cool.
Although, I give him credit for making it all compatible now, but SRAM did have a habit of, how many proprietary things have they brought in over the last 5 years? The free hub body, the chain, the power meter built into the chain rings.
Yeah.
They've really taken the piss with the compatibility, and now it's it all matches. Okay.
As long as you're in our ecosystem and you're relatively recent.
Yeah. Now, the high level thing, this is a big thing that's confused me with this release.
Yeah, I like this, Chad. I like where you're taking this.
Because at a high level, just looking at it, this looks like the update SRAM Force got a year ago. The new SRAM Force got released with the smaller hoods, all more modern design. Now, there's people probably going to say, well, technically, in individual parts, there's more updates to this version. Yeah, okay, I'm just saying from a high level, this looks like the update SRAM Force got previously. And generally, when the brands release, like with Shimano, they'll either do an update at the same time, so new Shimano version, and it goes to Giro Ace or Ultegra, or you have to wait. So you want the latest Shimano, you get Giro Ace, it'll then trickle itself down.
There's the trickle down.
In the next generation, or maybe 6 months later, to the lower version. Whereas just looking at this is like a trickle up, because SRAM Force already got a lot of these updates with the smaller hoods in particular. And then a year later, you're paying for the top dollar for the new version of SRAM Red, and it's similar update than SRAM Force got. What's your what are you saying?
Just to clarify what you're saying is this top tier launch is slightly less desirable by the fashionistas and gearheads because the lower tier got an update to aesthetically make it quite similar not that long ago.
Because if you're one of the people that buy the new version because it looks cool and it's trendy, and you kind of strut around on your new SRAM Red, well, I think a lot of them are going to go, well, why am I paying top dollar for that when I could have bought SRAM Force literally 12 months ago and got us the similar looking update. So there's something internally in SRAM where they've tripped over themselves and it's got all out of whack. Okay, so there's definitely from the sort of the value side of it for the fashionistas, but just internally in SRAM too, it brings up another question of, well, what's the product development flow? Because generally, wouldn't you think the engineers work on SRAM Red to do all the latest and greatest? You know, it then trickles down, and then they build it into SRAM Force. But that came out a year ago. So was this developed 2 or 3 years ago, and it's only just come out now? Or is it like a different team working on each, SRAM Force and SRAM Red, and they're just somewhat keeping up with each other?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
How is this
to
working?
It. Yeah, and I mean the water's muddy even more when you include the Explorer group sets, which has a red and a Force level, but then that's potentially going to get updated later on this year and include some features that aren't even in the road space. And so then does that become the top tier group set? Water's muddy further when racing gravel riders are putting top tier mountain bike deraillers on their bikes with all kinds of other configurations. So I don't know. Maybe this is just us coming from the, Durace gets launched, trickle down comes to Ultegra, trickle down goes to 105, then the top tier gets revamped again, and trickle down comes to and just the flow continues.
But how does this work for people like me who will only ever buy the SRAM Force or lower? Because does this mean now that we now have to wait at least 2 years until they do another SRAM Force update to get the trickle down from this?
Good question.
That's a long time to have to wait. Or are they saying that these generations now, that this new SRAM Red is in line with the previous that the current generation SRAM Force is? So that struck me because I don't know where along the line they.
Oh, you make a good point.
Yeah.
You do make a good point on it, and I don't know the answer. I think there's a bit of. It does feel like it's like they worked on every component individually, and got as far as they could each time with each component. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that feeling too.
I like that high level chat, but can I bring it back down to this particular launch? Actually, you go.
Because I saw this. I'm scrolling through this document. I'm on page 13. I scroll down. A freaking hammerhead Karoo.
You sent me the wrong file, Miller.
I thought, how's this? I messaged you. I think, why is there a Karoo in the SRAM RED press document? So I've forgotten, or I've just totally missed the ball. SRAM purchased Hammerhead, and so they own the new Karoo. So there is an update to the Karoo that is that coming out similar time to? This is the
new one, I assume.
Right? Okay, so there's a Karoo update, which...
Actually, that's a good question. Is this the new Karoo?
It looks like it. I mean, I know that was due to... I know Shane Miller said that was due to come out sometime soon. So this is probably the new Karoo.
This must be the new Karoo.
Now, I think we could probably save maybe Karoo chat for another episode.
I will link Shane Miller's video down below. I'm sure there is currently an embargo that just lifted, which is allowing him to talk about it. All I know is it doesn't have a matte screen anymore.
You can do a good 20 minutes on the new Karoo, but let's leave that.
Yeah.
Let's leave it. But I'm just interested that this is now part of the group set, seemingly. You're buying SRAM RED because SRAM say, get the Karoo. It works best with it. It's part of the ecosystem.
There's the word. This is the most Apple-y thing I've ever seen in cycling. Like, we have all these different parts of our world, and we're going to include it, and you are all going to become one. So when I first saw this, I was stoked. I thought, this is unique. I have not seen a bike company do something like this. What a nice gimmick that's a little bit of value add. But then I kind of thought about it a bit more, and I'm like, what's the actual day-to-day of this? Is there someone who's just spending $7,500 on the new top-tier road group set who doesn't have a top-tier bike computer? Probably not.
Pretty slim.
It's pretty slim chances.
Yeah.
So, is this going to actually be the thing that moves the needle to actually sell some extra SRAM group sets? I would doubt it. But I think ultimately it's a really good move because, people are really set in their ways with bike computers. It's really hard to get people to change once they start running a Garmin, once they start running a Wahoo. You know what? You just get one of these with your new group set. Happy days. Oh, fine, I'll run it. It's got a colorful screen on it. Miller doesn't like it, but other people seem to. And that's actually how you get people using that particular product.
Definitely. I mean, it's not, you see it in other industries, like you buy Tesla, you don't use your CarPlay, you use the Tesla car system. So this is, I guess, a similar version of that. You use the SRAM head unit. So the thing is, it has to be better than what you were currently using, or do something that your Garmin and your Wahoo can't do with the SRAM group set, which would make you want to use the Hammerhead. But interesting that they've just slipped that in there.
Can I throw this one? This is it's a long shot. It's a bit of a Hail Mary, but stick with me. All right. So this is the way to move your bike industry products into a subscription-based service. Because if you can package up all this stuff, all your electronic group sets with your Hammerhead here, is there a way that you get people to sign up to a medium level, a premium level subscription-based service that then gives you additional features over the non-subscriber? So I don't know, that might be more detailed maps. It might be, you know what? Firmware upgrade on your shifting that speeds it up by 0.2 of a second. Like that's where everyone's headed in every other industry, is to get you to actually subscribe for a monthly fee. Big play by SRAM. This is how you do it.
If you're going to do that, you better be providing some good value, because remember when you could buy a bike and it came with that FSA power meter, but it didn't work unless you connected it to your phone and then paid for it and then unlocked the power meter. But the power meter's on there, and it's just like, that is just really not good. It's disgusting. It's really,
I'll write that.
It's terrible for the environment and just terrible. But sure, watch the space on that one. Now, anything else with the SRAM release? That's top to bottom. That's all the parts. Anything? Any take homes, Chris? Now, actually, sorry, I forgot to ask. I didn't actually get your opinion on most of this. You've ridden it. What am I missing here? Give me something. Because I'm kind of going marginal improvement. Actually, this makes me, because the price always comes into it. So let's quickly go over the price. We've only got the Australian pricing. So this is, as we know, Australia is upside down world sometimes with bike industry pricing.
Especially with Giant. That's
yeah,
nuts.
that was
Yeah.
redid that Giant TCR thing.
That's
that was
real though. That split is real.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know, it's just weird. So, I mean, just we're going to say the pricing now, I'm sorry for people in the US and worldwide if this doesn't apply to you, but without a power meter, the previous version was 6677. Current version is 7030, but that includes the Karoo. So they're kind of bundling the Karoo in with the pricing.
Clever.
So if you take off the price of the Karoo, which I think is about 700,
yep,
it's actually cheaper than the last generation of SRAM Red. So you're without a power meter, you're 400 Australian dollars better off, and with a power meter, you're $480 better off than you were with the previous generation. So in Australia, I mean, it's a lot of money. I would not pay that for this group set personally, but it's cheaper than the previous generation. So that's fair play. And I'm gonna go really futuristic on this, and in a coming topic later in this show. So I'll save that. But there is a vision here. It's probably won by better in connectivity with your headset, better gearing options. I have a feeling that there's more accurate power meters. Like personally, this is more compelling, more in my opinion, better looking, more trendy visually for those that really care about that.
I don't think that's up for debate.
I mean, I do think if I'm comparing this to the latest Shimano Dura-Ace, I think it's compelling, and the price hasn't gone up from the previous generation, and it is actually I'm going to say a pretty big update, especially with the different look of the levers.
That's the price. It is what it is. There'll be a comment in there somewhere saying, "Oh, I wouldn't spend $700 on this." No, you wouldn't.
I got my group set from the tip,
and that's fine.
Tip bike, tip
build.
build.
Tip build.
Anything from the right?
So riding it. Okay. Look, you asked me a great question. If there's one component I could take off this and put on the SRAM, it would be the hoods. The hoods are fantastic, narrow, slimmer, light. Just everything that was just clunky about that those hoods have been improved. Now, I just want to talk a bit about the shifting. So I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but it still feels like SRAM shifting. So by that, I mean, with Shimano shifting, you haven't ridden the 12-speed stuff,
no.
But it's so fast and so light that you often don't actually, you press the button, but you don't even know if you've shifted. Like it's that, clinical is not the right word, smooth. It is that smooth. And sometimes in a bad way, you sort of find yourself looking back going, did that actually shift? It didn't feel any different. That's not the case with SRAM, especially with that rear derailleur shift. That's still a thud. It's still a click. You know you've shifted gears.
Mm-hmm.
So that has it's more of a click shift. That is still SRAM. That has not changed. It's a little bit faster, definitely. Now the front derailleur. I think I mentioned this. That inboard shift noticeably better. Noticeably
You mean
better.
going to the smaller ring?
Going to the smaller ring,
Okay.
Noticeably better. That outboard shift, obviously I can tinker around with it, but it's not Shimano. It's just not. Now that Shimano, anyway, I've said my piece on that Shimano outboard shift.
Okay.
It feels like you want to say something.
Okay, technically, having faster, more buttery shifting to the point where you can barely even notice it, I understand is technically more impressive. And shifting that you can do under increasing amounts of load, every generation is better technically and harder to do. But I actually, like, who really, I don't want to just be like, oh, but it is better, but it's like, who cares? I mean, we ran Campagnolo mechanical for a year. And like the feature of that group set for 2 years, the feature of that is you dump that thumb shifter and it goes dunk, dunk, dunk.
Like a machine gun.
It's like the least buttery thing ever, but that's almost a feature. Did that make my riding worse? No, it's just a different way of shifting. And I am now testing aftermarket bigger chain rings on my group set because I cannot get Shimano ones in a 56. And the shifting is freaking crunchy. Like, it is not as good. But all I do is back off the power for a millisecond and it shifts and then I'm good. So I understand technically it's more impressive to have the buttery shifting. But in terms of the scale of reasons why I would upgrade a group set, the butteriness of the front or the rear shifting is kind of pretty far down the list for me.
I tried to remove any opinion of when I said that, because I knew as soon as you say it's smoother, people just assume then, oh, that means it's better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that as fact rather than saying that as a opinion of better or worse. It's fact that it's faster and smoother. Do I think that's a better thing? Not for me to tell you. You have your opinion. I have my opinion.
What is your opinion? Do you?
Honestly, my opinion is I prefer this.
Okay.
I don't prefer the front derailleur.
Okay.
Then I would probably prefer not to ride with the front derailleur.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. I much prefer this thing and combine. I hate to say. Oh, sorry. Combine that with the aesthetics of, I don't know, just maybe it's my hands, whatever, with the way my hands sit on those hoods into those levers, with those brakes, with that additional button on top, which I like. It is a really, really compelling move.
So you prefer the rear shifting of the new SRAM Red compared to your 12-speed Shimano Dura-Ace rear shifting?
Yes.
You had to pick.
Yes.
Why?
For the reasons that maybe it's the kind of terrain that we ride on. We don't ride on flats, like smooth, buttery pavement all the time. So I find feedback from the cassette that I have shifted. Now, I'm not talking about like clunk, 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 but I'm talking about actually like shifting through the gears.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that feedback.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I'm interested in your opinion on how what you prefer.
Yeah,
But that's for someone. Someone might prefer. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would go, fuck the Shimano shiftings. I love that butteriness. Like, sure, of just personal preference.
But I will say that the gear ratio of the 5440 with the 1134 that I had on the Shimano Dura-Ace is superior to what I've put on here for my riding. But that was my mistake. I genuinely do think that if I'd put that 54, etc. on, it'd be fine. But look, I think I said this to you straight after I did it. If you blindfolded me on this, I would have said, you've given me force hoods with my Shimano, with my red group set that I was running on the S5. That would be basically how I would have sparked the difference. Okay. Now, a lot of the upgrades that they're put in here are weight, and we're going to get onto this bike, but you can see how this chat is going to go in a bike shop, especially a specialized bike shop. Because they'll build up, they'll have the SRAM and Shimano builds next to each other, and they will have had to have said previously, if you go the SRAM option, it's going to be, you'll be closer to 7 kilos, blah blah blah. If you go the Shimano option, you're probably down, maybe around 6-8, this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now they'll be able to sell you a SRAM group set, and you'll be dropping nicely under 6 point. And look. Performance-wise, I stand by the fact that's an irrelevant number, but standing there in the shop, because it's the only thing people can wrap their little brains around, 6.6 kilo. Ram Red, please.
Yep.
That is going to be the selling point for the boys. Look, honestly, I reckon that's us done. I think people will be fed up with SRAM chat. There's going to be so much in their feeds from this, but I reckon we had a pretty interesting, unique take to that.
Hopefully,
we'll sort of see.
Out of it.
We'll see how it rolls from here.
Yep.
So today's episode is brought to you by sports micronutrition company Pillar Performance. Traditional nutrition products like hydration and carbohydrates will take you through to the finish line, whereas Pillar's mission is to get you to the start line in the best condition over and over.
In this episode, Pillar wants to bring awareness to the benefits that magnesium supplementation can have for you as a cyclist, particularly as it relates to sleep and recovery. Do you have trouble getting to sleep each night? Or do you suffer from reduced sleep quality, particularly after your biggest training days? If so, magnesium supplementation can help improve all areas of your sleep by regulating melatonin production and reducing cramps that interrupt your sleep quality. Pillar's Triple Magnesium is a 300 milligram blend of absorbable forms of magnesium that tastes great and is informed sport batch tested to be free from banned ingredients.
If you would like to try Pillar today, get 15% off by using code Nero at pillarperformance.shop, or for North American listeners, head to thefeed.com/pillar and enter code Nero for 15% off.
More tech stuff, Chris, from the Giro.
Mate, I got so excited by this.
Yeah.
You have no idea how excited I got by this.
Okay.
You're surprised?
Are you just excited because we talked about it last
I was like, maybe INEOS are listening.
Context. Chris was watching a Dave Arthur video a couple of weeks ago where he was riding a gravel bike with a classified rear hub.
It wasn't a gravel bike. It was an endurance bike.
An endurance bike, sorry. And we sort of said, look, we think there's a place for this in the future, but the friction, we don't know how much friction it adds. Is it a thing for a road bike, for a race bike? We're not sure. A week later, Giro d'Italia, INEOS are doing a time trial with one. So instantly, I'm not concerned with the friction losses anymore. They're not, you never know. I'm going to say they're not sponsored with Classified, but that's murky because INEOS work with Princeton Carbon Works. They've redesigned their rear wheel to fit the Classified. So I'm not going to say that there's no partnership there, or there's probably, it helps Classified the fact that INEOS are running them. But I don't think INEOS would be using it if they weren't confident that it wasn't a net benefit, or at least it wasn't slowing them down. So I was really excited that this is the first time it's been used in a World Tour time trial.
Yeah. Look, shout to Ronan McLaughlin. This was a really good pick that he came.
And again, it's like he's
on it.
Yeah,
He's run it too.
Yeah.
What I hadn't fully taken on board when I was looking at this originally is it has this locked and unlocked, which is sort of how it works. And what INEOS have they haven't stumbled upon, but what they have realized is that this unlocks the ability to run larger and larger front chain rings, and therefore giving you the efficiency of that larger chain ring on the force flats and the flats. They're in a unlocked position, so the classified hub's doing nothing. There's no resistance being caused at all. It's only when it goes into sort of inner ring mode, so on that shorter climb, that there is that's where it comes into doing its magic and potentially has a little bit of inefficiency. But because you aren't, and this is where it gets murky, because you're comparing it versus other one-by settings or one-by scenarios in this particular time trial, is that it would be more efficient than the cross-training that was involved in just running that one-by setup.
When it's in the unlocked position, so the easier gear, you're naturally going slower anyway, so the hub is rotating less times. So technically, I think, and this was kind of paraphrasing Ronan's explanation, is that even in the unlocked position, where there is technically more friction, the wheel speed's slower anyway because you're going up a climb. So it actually might even be less friction because the wheel's spinning less, even though the hub is maybe adding a little bit of friction per rotation. It's less rotations because the speed's lower. So just even, there's a lot of technical details in there, but effectively you can run a bigger front chain ring. You've actually got, compared to, someone actually did the calculation in the comments too. If you compare Pogacar's 2x, Ganna had a bigger ring and an easier little gear than Pogacar had using this hub. So you've got more gearing range, less friction because you've got a bigger chain ring, more aerodynamic, which is potentially arguable because bigger chain ring and a chain catcher,
but heavier.
Yeah,
and this is where 300 grams was what was the,
even taking into account the loss of the front derailleur.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's where the roadblock is for just pure road racing at this stage. So yeah, that's still the. Are we going to see it in a Alpe d'Huez stage? Probably not. Rolling terrain, that kind of thing. I can't see any reason why that wouldn't go that route. But yeah, so you're looking at about a 300 gram thing, and I would add that where those 300 grams are. I don't know if you ever find this. We'd kind of toy with the balance of the bike a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that would all just be behind your butt.
Yeah, yeah.
And even when you pick a bike up and you feel a really well-balanced bike, you can feel, and it can be the same weight as a unbalanced bike that's got that sort of drop at the rear end. Anyway, that's just a thing from a consumer level. But needless to say, I'd still get around this thing in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Now, this is where I'm going to pair this back to the SRAM release, because I could see something happening here.
Mate, I called this. Don't you? You're going to claim my call.
What's your call, Chris?
My call was that SRAM are going to get around this. They've got to partner with this.
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm about to say.
Route. Okay.
Well, because SRAM do this new RED release where they're basically like, we've got a gravel-capable, ideally run one by rear derailleur. We've got all one by thing. We've got this poor front derailleur that no one really wants anymore, but people still want gear ratios. We've got this classified rear hub, which INEOS are using in time trials, which doesn't appear to really add much friction. It's just a little heavier. I mean, if SRAM buy classified, the rear hub is then part of the Groupset. You lose, the front derailleur is gone forever. You could also have faster shifting because of the double tap thing, the delay, that would be gone. So you could the rear shifting would be faster because they're not waiting for that delay with pressing the two pedals together. They've already got the semi-clutch thing in the rear derailleur. They've already got the wide range cassettes. It's done. It's done. It's done.
If SRAM buy
just money.
If SRAM buy classify, it's done.
Yep.
It's done. Lay your arms down. It's over.
How would Shimano keep up?
No, done.
And then, so they've already got wheel brands. They've redesigned that whole rear hub on that Princeton Carbon Works wheel set. You can get it all built up, ready to go, no issues. SRAM do the lighter cassette too, so I'm sure they could come up with some way to that 300 gram difference right now. I'm sure they could get that. They could cancel that out.
Yep.
I'm sure down the track, and then
that's gone.
And then we're done.
We're done.
Good. Yeah, that's it. We're all on SRAM.
No.
We're all done.
We're done. Well, surely L2 or Magine. I reckon Magine will pop up with one. They had a group set last week.
Oh, they just
might as well. Yep. Oh, we got a rear hub.
No, I'm excited. I've been kind of a lot of this.
It's been a slow burner for you. This one.
It has been, but I'm excited again. I can see a path forward that isn't just disc brakes and more gears. Like this classified thing with the SRAM already designed to be one by, I mean, that's a genuine difference where we may look back in 5 years' time on a 2020 bike and go, oh, yeah, we were front shifting and we had all these chain rings and all this crap.
Would you be interested? Because I did read. Would you be interested if I tried to have it like, I don't know, an interview or a podcast or something with the guys at Classified? Because they're at Eurobike, and I did get in contact with them. I reckon that there might be some value in that. It's kind of niche. I'd just love to know what the direction is.
I don't think they'll probably say.
No? Yeah. Get booning on.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's you build the shifting then into the Karoo. Oh, it's just all going to be there.
Give up this Karoo. Yeah. Can we just, of all the advances we've talked about, I think the Karoo thing.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about the ecosystem, okay. You see, because they've got the time pedals as well. So I wonder, like, how they're gonna play with that.
And with the classified thing, right now, I think it's a locked percentage, isn't it? It's like 0.69, whatever.
Yep.
It's not out of the question that one day that would be adjustable.
Yep.
So then you basically got in the rear hub a selection, almost like changing your chain rings, but you just turn an Allen wrench.
Mm.
Oh, I'm so like, God, I'm excited. Very excited.
No, I won't go. I won't double. No, but that's where your head unit. You're able to adjust the gear ratio in your head unit.
Yep. On your Karoo. Yeah.
You just via Ant Plus, you're like, oh, geez, I'm about to do Balocca. I'll change that inner ring to 0.4. Yep. Spin. 100 cadence up it. Yeah.
That's a genuine, I'd be excited. Yep.
We should patent that. Oh, yes. While we're talking gear, Jesse Coyle has an announcement to make.
Yes. While we're talking gear, bang. The Navy Nero suit back in stock, as we discussed. Free worldwide shipping. Link in the description. And also your little fancy product icons will be on the YouTube video. We've also got gloves.
Such an underrated.
It didn't stand out enough. You kind of have the Nero suit on, it's all good, and then you got these black gloves, slop. So, Chris, you can be the first recipient of the Nero gloves. They're also in there too.
Oh, they're one size fits all?
No, there's 2 sizes.
Okay, 2 sizes. I like that you don't have the Velcro strap.
No Velcro.
Because the Velcro strap always gets stuffed in washers and then it destroys your Lycra because it sticks to the Lycra.
Yep. The Velcro doesn't work.
Nice.
So we have Nero gloves. So if you're buying the Nero suit or the jersey, add a pair of gloves in and complete the look. Yes.
I'm going to look ridiculous. With
Are you
this,
wearing
the
them for the rest of the show?
With the helmet, everything, just on the start line.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I rate that.
Sick.
That's good. Nice one. Congrats. So, yeah, we'll the links will be down below, but also we should be able to put them up in the product space here on the channel.
That would be good.
What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about this bike or do you want to talk about my Calamity on the weekend?
I feel like we have to talk about the bike because once I kind of burn out on equipment chat, so we may as well stoke it while the fire's hot with this TCR, and then we can roll into some gravel.
So this will be a running chat, obviously, for the next couple of months. But I think when Giant launched this bike or about to launch this bike, I called them out. You weren't involved in this. You weren't really happy with me calling them out.
Backroom deals, eh?
Yeah. I called them out and said, Giant, what are you up to? You got this bloke on a bloody old TCR, step up, and do you back your product? Do you back your TCR to be ridden and talked about on this show?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, I was going to be some big tough guy that no one ever applied to. Turns out Giant actually got in contact and said, yeah, we do back our product, Chris. We'll send you one. You can ride it and talk about it as much as you want. We don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Fair play.
Awesome.
Fair play. So, yeah.
Now, you're riding it because I haven't ridden any road disc bike. So that it was kind of pointless me riding it.
That was we discussed it, and ultimately, you coming off a rim brake bike to a disc brake bike, you would...
Is something I will. I mean, I'll be doing that, but there's just not from a review point of view, it's kind of pointless.
Yes.
Even though I will be sharing that experience this year.
Yeah.
I think, in this case, it was better for you
to go this route
to do a comparison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Given that you've ridden R5, S5, Air Road, you name it, you've ridden it.
Factor.
Yep.
Devel A01. A02.
And A02.
Yeah.
Now, how many rides have you done on it?
2.
Okay. We haven't. Oh, this is kind of. Usually we would chat about it before and I get an idea. This is straight in.
Straight in.
Live, off the cuff.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna. Yeah. So.
Well, what does it weigh?
Oh, this is
because you always you go. Well, what does it actually weigh when you get it?
Yeah. This is
new SRAM Red.
Have I shown you a picture of this? I can't remember.
Yes.
Oh, I have I?
Yeah. I guessed without pedals it would be 6.6. 6.71.
Yeah, so without pedals, it was 6.5. So with pedals, the new SRAM, so that's the other thing that's going on here.
Yeah.
With the new SRAM is an illegal race bike. It's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the TCR. It's got the Cadex Max 40s on there. Hookless Max 40s on there with the Giant.
Oof, pray for Chris.
With the Giant tires. Yeah, and the Cadex integrated bars.
Okay.
So look, I'll go kind of through the specs of this as we truck along over the next couple of weeks. But I did want to give the classic first impressions.
That's what I want. Yeah.
I want the first impression. So
how'd it go?
I thought, having spoken to you a lot about this bike, Cam's impressions, Nichols, Jeffers impression of this bike. You guys talking about this bike, I was expecting this super like not uncomfortable, but really sort of stiff. Whoa, I'm riding a bike type experience. I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but it was like getting into an old pair of trackies for like the first time in a couple of months. It's the first winter night. You pull the trackies on. You're like, oh, yes, so comfy. It was, I don't know whether it's something just about the geometry of the bike. It was like, I've never experienced a new bike day where I've got on the bike and gone, oh yeah, this is exactly what riding a bike is like. And it was, a bit of a relief, actually.
Okay.
I didn't want to get it on here and say, actually, it's as rough as guts. So that was my sort of initial impression of kind of the overall Frederico. You need to patent that, by the way. Frederico, just pure feel. So I'm not looking at numbers. I'm not doing any of that sort of stuff.
Is it snappy?
It is, but it's not, again, I didn't feel like it wasn't extraordinary one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just looking at it's quite interesting too, because when I see it in person, it is shockingly close to mine.
Yep.
I mean, you can see what they've done. Obviously, it's got disc brakes, which is very different, but they've basically just chopped the back ends of the fork off, chopped the rear side of the seat tube off, so they're cam-tailed, probably save a couple of watts. But the down tube's the same, that totally non-aerodynamic, just thick rectangle. Most of it looks quite similar, and obviously the integrated bars too. But it's kind of pretty amazing how similar it actually looks.
It is, but I was always fascinated by this TCR thing. I just mention the bike actually arrived on a Tuesday.
Oh,
I just thought that was
TCR
cool.
Tuesday. Yeah.
There you go. I kind of almost get why they did that, because this bike is so reassuringly a bike. As soon as you maybe play with that, that would turn off this big catalogue of people who are TCR fans. It does, I think, especially in 2024, have a unique ride feel, because it is actually like riding something in a sense from the past, something that you do feel comfortable with. And that is, I think, reassuring for a lot of people. Now, how that translates into like pure performance, we'll get into that over the next couple of weeks and months, definitely. But I totally get on a TCR, I know what I'm doing. It makes complete sense to me.
What are you feeling then compared to the R5, given you've just initial impressions, one ride?
I didn't like the R5.
Okay.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think a lot of that's just due, and this is another chat we can have, but like the R5, whilst it was, kind of light, it was still 7.2 kilos or 7.1 kilos or something around there. It was actually quite a bit more uncomfortable. And I'm not sure why, but certainly nowhere near as comfortable as the TCR has been so far.
Interesting, because you had the reserve wheels on
and
there.
And that's again, one of the...
But they don't look like particularly comfortable wheels.
Exactly. I was looking at this bike the other night, going to get on this going, oh no. Like I genuinely was really worried.
Yeah.
Because they're only 28 mil wheels. Though I put it in the SRAM, so 28 mil giant wheels with the 22 mil internal hookless rims. I put that into the SRAM calculator thing. I only have, at 66 kilos, it's like 58 PSI.
Okay.
So is that lower because I'm running hookless?
I have no idea.
I don't know either. I just thought that was noticeably lower for what I thought was not that wide a setup. But you're right. This is going to be bone shattering. I've got a few like little splits in the pavement and stuff that I really know well for that. Yeah. And this soaks.
Everyone's got that. Yeah. You loop. You're like, okay, I'm going to go left through Darling Harbour, and then there's like
I'm going to
four
get hit by those cracks. Yeah. Nothing in there. And that just kept giving me this reassurance of like, I totally understand. It's actually not what I thought going in, what the experience was going to be. Now, get out of the saddle in the drops and, do Chris Miller 800 watts. It's like that's where our TCR is like, oh, hang on, things are happening.
Okay.
So I do, and again, as a pure feel thing, I totally
That's
get.
noticeable.
Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely.
Okay.
I don't know how much I can say about these because I'm not sure like what the situation is with them, but those handlebars are phenomenal.
In what way?
Just the actual shape of them. So they are 36 at the hoods.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
At the hoods.
36s.
And they flare out to 40 at the bottom. But the way they actually curve in, you're actually almost lying flat with my wrists up against them like in an aero position. And then if that gets, and I was able to hold that quite well because you've got a lot of hand on the actual thing. So a lot of sort of weight's being taken up on your arm, but then you drop down a little bit lower into the drops. Is a really nice spot high up on the drops, which again is still quite narrow before it flares out. You've got full access to the levers, which is a nice sort of relaxing place there as well. They're thinner at the top than obviously the S5 ones. But yeah, that they are a big takeaway from me so far.
So is there anything to it then? You're going to go ride the next few weeks. Is it fitting into the Chris quiver?
That's the biggest challenge. That's going to be the biggest challenge to give a really accurate, useful bit of chat here, but also I'm a cyclist. Like I'm not just going out and riding for the sake of it. Like I normally am, I don't know, trying to get some sort of performance element to it. So, but then there's the challenge of the riding that we do is, and I hate to say it, I don't hate to say it, but the truth is like my 1x S5 is like the most perfect bike for the riding, the terrain that is in Sydney and the type of riding that I do. So I almost have to take myself out of that because it's not an aero. It's not a full out flat aero bike that rolls over hills like the S5 does. There's 1 or 2 kilometers an hour in it. Yeah. Do you like that?
Yes. We pulled one out of him. He's got the one line. It just rolls over hills. The S5, it rolls itself.
Well, I've just got to take this somewhere where I can snappy and nippiness its way up the climb.
So what? I mean, you've got the bike. So what are you just going to force yourself to
100%,
take it out?
100%.
Okay.
That's definitely the plan. But there's like 2 things going on. There's like Chris doing his riding, and then there's like, well, I also need to be able to talk about this in an environment that's not just a couple of crits around Sydney, a bit of Centennial Park and the odd like 8-minute 5% hill. Like there needs to be there's a wider community.
No, there's not
just that. So yeah, I'll endeavour to do that. But first impressions are warm, comfy pair of pants.
Okay.
One really little thing on this: it's the first time I've got a premium bike that's come with a bike computer mount that's perfect.
Okay.
It's not slop. It's recessed. So when you put the thing in, it's not like plasma, like the Canyon one, which was just like pointing up, or the S5 one, which is like this 8-part system, which has got so many fails in it. This is just one little thing with a little recess. You clip it in. It sits aero. Happy days. It's just a nice touch.
Okay.
It's a nice touch.
Yep. I remember the first time I saw you on the Nero bike, the aero. What the hell? Why is that sticking up? That's not very aero. How does it doing a review? Because this is probably your first review bike. Like the thing with Cervelo, technically it's a review bike, but you kind of own it, so that's a bit different. This is the first just review bike you've done. Like, how does this play out? Because what if you didn't like it? Like, you would feel pretty bad coming on here and just going, "Yeah, it's not for me. Don't like it." But Giant sent it to me to try.
I think
how are you going to play that? Because what if you don't like it? You're going to feel really bad saying that you don't like it, given that they've sent it out to you.
That's a good point. My take will be that I would like to find things that I do like about it, And I'm also happy to talk about the things that I don't like about it. If I don't like anything about this bike, then we have a problem. But I don't think I'm going to be in that position given the experience that I've had so far.
Okay.
I think there's going to be benefits to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think going in, this was never going to be Chris would, and this was even in the best part about Giant willing to quote unquote risk it with us, was that they knew that it's not the perfect bike for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they still backed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if you had gone for the first ride and just hated it, what do you do in that situation? Do we just not discuss it?
Yeah, I wouldn't have come on.
And just send it back and just go that, like, would it be worth sharing? Should we share that? Or would that be something where, let's say you really didn't like it and you just go, oh, hey guys, it's just not for me. I don't really have much good to say about it. I think it's better if you just take it back and don't go about it. Because that could happen at some stage.
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer. Yeah. I'd like to think I don't know. Because I'd like to think I come on here and you ask me the same questions that you would always ask me after any bike ride, and I am honest. I've said it with the R5.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I may or may not get a call from someone in Cervelo after that, but you know, I love the S5. I don't like the R5. I think that's okay.
Okay.
That's as honest as you're not going to get a Cervelo ambassador probably saying that.
Yeah, it's true. Okay.
Yeah. What would you do? I mean, if the Cervelo arrives, it's a bit different. That's a different vibe.
Yeah. If it's something that has been sent, I honestly think I would just send it back and not talk about it. I'd love to say I'd just get on here and just tell it how it is, but if a brand sent something for free, I'd feel really bad doing that. Which just comes down to if I had just gone and bought it and it was crap, I wouldn't feel as bad. But when someone from the brands got in touch, sent it to you, I have to think.
I don't think it'll be that easy though, because there'll be that bike will arrive. We'll have a chat. We'll be like, oh, how are you building it up? Oh, we might even get Joe on. We might talk about like what you're building it up with. Then you might ride it for a week and go, oh shit, I don't like this.
Well, that's the thing. If I've clearly already on it and then suddenly it's just radio silence, I cannot back out of that.
Nope.
But if I had just been secretly writing something that no one knew about.
That's not going to happen. There's no scenario on the Nero Show where that happens. We are always going to talk about the preamble, the setup. There's no backing out.
That's part of the problem.
That's part of the problem. And that's probably why no brands want to be involved. But yeah, that's where we're at with it. Speaking of shit shows. Yeah.
So you flew to the other side of the country to do 2 kilometers of a gravel race. 2.1. You know what? I actually feel really bad. Yeah, and I'm kind of annoyed that the issue you had really could have happened at any race, and it wasn't a flat. I was praying you got a flat tire. I'd be so vindicated if you just, I got a shard of gravel through my tire, and that was the end of my race. I would be sitting here laughing, but a flat Di2. No, sorry. Just a not working Di2 rear derailleur could literally happen at any race. So I pity you, my friend.
That's disappointing. I wanted you laughing at me. All these people saying, oh, Jesse's going to be ripping you. I mean, look, I talked it into existence. Like sitting here last week saying, oh, the one thing I'm really worried about is if I go down the first hill and my derailleur falls off. Well, it didn't fall off, just stopped working. Can I?
No. You know what I will give you shit for?
Yeah.
You're constantly off to the shop. I'm off to Cache. Yep. I'm back. Every second, I get call from Chris every second day, I'm off to the bike shop. You don't know really how to do anything with this bike yourself. And if you had spent more time learning how the parts work and what the troubleshooting systems are, you potentially could have fixed it. But you spend way too much time at the bike
Nailed
shop
it.
that you shot yourself.
I honestly, you nailed it. Actually, I didn't know you were going to go that route, but well done. Yeah, you've totally nailed it. I was sitting on the flight coming home, feeling sorry for myself, and then thinking, actually, you know what? I don't know anything about this bike. As soon as it stopped working, I had
like a caveman just poking it with a stick.
What to do? No idea. So I think Ollie, what's his name? Ollie the guy in the Canberra team.
Ollie Stenning.
Yeah,
yep.
he saw me shouting, and he's like, "Oh, maybe it's the battery." And so I'm like, "Oh, maybe it is the battery." But then I'm like, "No, the front derailleur's shifting. It's not that." That was literally the only kind of thing that happened, and that comes to my point. So for anyone who doesn't know, yes, I went and did 7, didn't do 7, 2.1 Ks in.
2.1.
I dropped, went up the climb, came down the other side. We've gone onto the flat. I'm in the 11 because it's quite flat, and the rear derailleur is just not shifting. I'm like, oh shit. I can do front derailleur shifting. Anyway, pull in. I take the rear cable, the rear wire out of the rear derailleur, plug it back in, thinking maybe something's happened there. No, still died. I've tried on the junction box, it's flashing green. It's not a battery issue, just flashing normally. Then I'm in full panic mode and people are going past and I've turned into just like kicking it, throwing it and all sorts of things. There's actually a really nasty climb at 20 Ks, got to there and had to walk. And that was quite a thing to walk in a fondo with just everyone riding past you up a hill. And look, just staying actually on the mechanical side of it. So
what the hell happened?
I managed to eventually get to the first feed zone where Luke was. Shout Luke, 50 Ks in, and pulled in him, put the bike in the car, drove back to the start, then back home, pulled the bike out of the car, beep, 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 shifting. So no idea. Look, potentially it had gone into a crash mode, and so there are different things. This is your point, and you're dead right with it. I did not know what to do when my bike goes into crash mode. So it's not a straightforward thing. There are quite a few sort of workarounds you can do. One of them is you manually press the derailleur up the cassette to jank it out of crash mode. I didn't do that to get it to go to start working again, but it's sitting there working now. Mm-hmm. So it's clearly not something wrong. It's a mode that it had gone into or it was shocked into that was something that I potentially could have got it out of. I just don't know what that was. And I don't know what the workarounds were. And yeah, you're dead right on that, that I don't know enough about bikes.
Oh dear.
But
kit looked good.
Nice
photo.
Kit looked good.
Well, so you got 2.1 in. Had you gone up a climb?
We'd gone up the first climb.
How were the sensations? Good sensations?
Mate, I was on for one.
probably would.
And it is like, I know this is ridiculous to say, but you're like, I got to enjoy 10 minutes of going up a gravel climb and down the other side with the front group, and it's a fucking brilliant. Like it was awesome buzz. I totally get why people get that.
Okay.
Because you're kind of on the limit, and that was kind of cool. I will say, so I'm walking, right? Or I'm clearly like grinding this stupid gear along. And so like every second person, "Oh, you okay?" And my answer was no.
Okay.
So no. Oh, my rear derailleur's not working. Oh, that sucks. Right. It's like this constant awkward conversation of people trying to be nice, yet not getting the answer they wanted because they wanted, "Oh yeah, all good," or
hit the wall.
"I've got a flat," or something that's, there's another exchange. But as soon as it's just, "Oh yeah, well there's no solution to that."
Yeah.
There's like this awkward pause, and then, "All right, see you then." Because I don't want them to stop. They don't want to stop, but we've got to now go through this kind of weird social thing, and then I'll do it again 10 seconds later to the next person.
Social things.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
So thank you for all the people. And yes, people on Instagram wishing like heaping pity on me and being very nice. I don't deserve that. I don't think. I think I needed to know more about my bike ultimately. And I think that's part of the gravel thing that I'm just going to have to accept, that if I'm going to do this, I've got to get better at all that stuff. I got to be able to throw a plug in, fix it in under 30 seconds. I got to know all the modes. I got to learn more about disc brakes.
Mm-hmm.
I accept that I didn't know that, because normally what happens when I get a mechanical is I'll put my hand up and something will
changes
fix
my
it.
bike.
It'd be great. But yeah, that's not the case.
That is it's a rookie error.
It's a rookie.
It's really my derailleur's stopped. What troubleshooting do I have? I unplugged the cable, put it back in, and pressed the junction button, and the green light turned on.
What would have you done? Anything else?
I don't go to fly across the country to do a gravel race.
Fair point. Fair point.
I walk home from Centennial Park.
Yep.
Fair point.
Fair point.
And I'd like to, you know what? I'll use this as a reminder if I ever do go and do that. You know, because when I get this L2 ERX thing, like I'm going to need to speak to the mechanic, and this is probably a good reminder to get him to give me just a run through how everything works, what are the buttons, what's the resetting, because I'm probably going to I may well need to know.
Don't use Edwin. He's in the bad books. I'm blaming Edwin.
Yeah,
Edwin's fault. Dog of a mechanic. Dog of a mechanic. He's in Japan at the moment. He won't watch this. Yeah. But like I will be. I'll have to do.
Are you done with gravel?
No, I'm not. But I'm not, because I had this chat with someone during the week who didn't go to it, but their thinking about wanting to do it was, I really want to do a bike race that's 4 hours, 5 hours. It's got 3,000 meters of climbing in it, but I'm not a pro. So what else can I do other than gravel racing? And it is a limited list of things now. And so I think, just for my own sanity of wanting to do that type of, because you know me, that's like, for me to be competitive in a bike race, it's got to be that kind of length.
It needs to be hard.
Yeah, and it needs to be hard. And so that's ultimately what that terrain is. And so from a purely selfish perspective, it's really the only avenue I have, like in sympathy, but like that's the avenue I have to be competitive in a bike race now. So yeah, that's I think ultimately where I'm going to go, but not with that group set.
So you're blaming okay. Wouldn't happen on SRAM.
I was a bit annoyed about that, because it did become this like quasi ad for SRAM. I don't know if you saw any of the comments. It's like, oh, Shimano, like, oh, it wouldn't happen on SRAM. I'm like, no, you're right, but I just, it's actually like the best. If someone actually called this out, they were like, this feels like an ad for SRAM. And if you think about it, it actually would be a really clever ad for SRAM, is if you just set someone up, like big noted them to do like Leadville or one of the big races on the rival group set, and they have a mechanical on it, and then you make some big deal about it. You know, I reckon that's, if you're going to get cynical about, that's how you bring the eyeballs on.
Well, there's just more crap that could, because you've got a cable, you've got the battery in there. Who knows what's going on? Who knows what wires? Who knows what Edwin's done in the C-tube there? There's all kinds of rat's nest in there. There's just more. There is more stuff that can go wrong, as opposed to
in there somewhere, and I don't know what he's got in there. No, it's just it's weird. The wireless stuff does work with my brain better. I understand, like, that talks to that and that talks to that. There's a wire. What will that do? Does that carry the signal? I don't understand. Yeah. So no, I'll be back. He says now. It's good to see Luke. Luke, former Nero superstar. All right. Thank you very much for your time, JC.
Thanks for listening.
Chat to you soon.
See you then.